on sports!
All right, there. We are in the midst of winter. I don't know how your lawn looks, Scanner, but we've recently had a little snow here that I like. You know, I like the winter thing. I wouldn't make it in the South. I'd be a bad hot weather kind of guy.
You've talked about that, I know it.
I mean, I have the pores of Jim Bibby. So
I remember Jim Bibby on that July game. I think it was in '79. I can't remember. It was the Phillies or somebody, and it was like 178 degrees in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
The water was just dripping.
Oh,
dripping off his hat and that. Remember, like he.
Oh yeah. He
was kind of like all arms and legs guy too. So it's flying everywhere on the camera.
Oh God, he had the pores of the Grand Canyon.
He was a big boy, Jim Bibby.
He was a big boy, a big sweaty boy. Sweaty boy.
I loved him though.
Oh man, but you are Gary the Bone Crusher. You're the Bone Crusher kid, all right?
Going to the boxing, not the wrestling.
The Bone Crusher, exactly. I don't know who this guy is, and I'm going to find out here. But I'm going to be Dave Six Heads Finoli.
What is it?
The man who won the vacant welterweight title in 2001, Andrew Six Heads Lewis.
Correct. I remember Andrew Lewis. Yep, I remember him. Six Heads. That's right.
Why? It's considered one of the 50 greatest names in boxing history, and I agree.
I mean, he was one of those title holders that sometimes, if you look back, if you didn't live it, you'd like, what? Who's this guy? But I think he won. I can't remember. It was one of the big ones. But he was like the reason they call him Six Heads is because he was like an octopus. It was all arms, just constant motion. I remember him.
You know, who would come up with a name like that? Who would such a name?
Octopus arms. He's all over you. Arms all over the place.
I mean, this man probably would be a blip in boxing history if not for the name Six Heads.
Everybody thought of Felix Trinidad in that era, not Six Heads Lewis.
I can't think of anything.
Right.
I think but Six Heads. That's
well, when you have 64 titles, you're going to have a Six Heads crop up every day. But he wasn't a bad fighter, but he was certainly not an all-time great either. Good conditioning guy, though. I remember him.
He was a champion.
Yep.
As are both these guys. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 heavyweight titles on the 4 heavyweight titles. Not the linear heavyweight title, which you know is my favorite.
Yes, and that's Tyson Fury.
Tyson Fury.
Yeah.
But this is the guy that actually holds the organization titles. There is no linear organization. But I wonder if the Ring Magazine, as they used to consider the linear title holder, the Ring Magazine title.
Actually, even with the change in ownership to a promoter controlling it, which has caused some issues.
Yeah.
Promoters De La Hoya, no secret there. They do actually recognize the lineal.
I think they should. I think the lineal's always been I always loved when the Ring Magazine, when it was, who was it? Nigel Collins?
Yep.
Was the man who ran it. I mean, to me, that was the last bastion of it being a great magazine. But anyways, we got Andy Ruiz, you know, a favorite of yours, a favorite of any guy who has punch. With punch on.
Yep.
Going up against guy who looks like a solid athlete in Anthony Joshua.
Yep. And
there was first, in Saudi Arabia, 2:30 in the afternoon, streaming on DAZN. Okay.
Right.
This bar thing I've seen. I guess in the day, I remember seeing John Tate and Mike Weaver at 2 in the afternoon on CBS, but I guess it can be done.
Jerry Coetzee and somebody else. I think it might have been John Tate as well.
John Tate.
Yep. South Africa. Yep.
Yeah. He was a nice guy who represented bad. I always felt bad for Jerry Coetzee because he wasn't a bad guy. Never seemed like a bad guy.
Agreed.
Represented a bad nation and always took the heat for it. But Ruiz wins the title in a stunning 7th round knockdown. knockout in at Madison Square Garden earlier in the year.
Yep.
And, they come together, and I get a text from you earlier in the day. I'm gonna take a look at this text if you don't mind.
No, go ahead. I think boxing continues to be the theater of the unexpected, as Larry Merchant used to say. Notice my hat, HBO Boxing.
I see the head. I see it. I respect it.
I love Larry. Miss him.
Love the Iron Pig shirt a little better.
Yeah.
But I love that. I have Iron Pig shirt. I have every Iron Pig hat because Viv and I used to go out to a friend of ours who was a trainer on the team when they first started. My
friend up there too. She's an appraiser. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, it's a great stadium.
Yeah.
Probably the best.
Allentown's a small Pittsburgh. My people didn't tune in to listen to this, but my dad's from up in that area. My dad loved Pittsburgh, and the reason he did is because he grew up in Allentown and Coleridge. Similar to small Pittsburgh.
Yeah, it's a great town. Great town.
Yep.
But here's your text. Oh my God, boxing just has a Paul or an Amityville horror situation. Ruiz weighed in at 283, 23 pounds fatter, and that is the proper use. His advantage was speed, not bulk. I trust his team, but I am truly concerned. I'll discuss it. Maybe the reason, but it's alarming. Joshua dropped 15 pounds to 237. He knew he'd lost due to hand speed. Fascinating business, really. And I'm not even going to include the WTF.
People love my balonies. Maybe will get the WTF.
What makes anyone with a brain wonder, would a trilogy bring more financial security for everybody who gets a slice of the money? You got to wonder. I mean, Ruiz, the one thing I got from him was he was a hard worker, and that's the one thing he respected. Going up to 283 with more fat is not, to me, the workings of a hard worker.
I agree.
You know, I told you yesterday before this came out, I projected Joshua to win, which our favorite new boxing game, Title Bout 2, they had Joshua winning a very dominant 12-round decision. 9 points on 2 cards, 7 points on the third.
I wouldn't be surprised at that outcome. That's fair. I could see that.
So, talk to me.
Well, I mean, I don't think that any of this is calculated.
Before you talk to me, you brought up, you know what I'm talking about.
I do. I don't know, given what we just talked about, maybe it's not, but I think the one thing about this, I will say the one thing about here from a boxing standpoint that I think is good.
Yeah.
This has gotten a tremendous amount of attention for 6 months.
Oh, yeah.
I think Wilder is the best heavyweight out there right now, despite his various technical flaws. Part of the reason he's willing to fight anybody. He's fought Fury. He's going to fight Fury again. He fought Ortiz. It was in a life and death struggle. He took him on before the Fury fight. You got to respect that. So people who've been carping for years about the fact we need American heavyweight, which I didn't really agree with during the Klitschko era. Klitschko spoke English better than I do. But the bottom line is I think we now have an American heavyweight that's willing to take risks. He can hit, and he's winning.
Yeah.
So from the big picture standpoint, I think the heavyweight division is in pretty good shape. Now, with all the entertainment options and stuff, and putting this on streaming services hurts its marketability. A lot of people don't have it. People are listening to us. If you like boxing, you got to have that now. You got to have ESPN Plus. But the fact of the matter is, we've got a pretty good American heavyweight now, and I think he's at the top of the game because although he's got some flaws, he is fighting everybody and he's willing to. That's not been the case with Joshua, quite frankly.
Right.
That has not been the case with other guys. I think Andy got the chance 6 months ago, and I think everybody loves that underdog story. I don't think it was as big of an underdog as I said 6 months ago. I don't think he's as big of an underdog, even some people think now, even some of the experts.
But Joshua thought he was going to be I assume from what I read, he thought it was going to be a fairly easy go-round. That's why
he certainly fought like that. He certainly fought like that. And I think, you never know what's going on the inside, okay? You got a very nice-looking dude, very popular in a country where boxing is one of the top 3 sports. It's like football and basketball over here. Very well-spoken, always on TV. DAZN featured him, basically didn't even interview Ruiz much during the whole lead up to the fight. He was prepared to fight somebody else, Jarrell Miller, who was a big hitter. Ruiz really wasn't considered a big hitter, but he weighed 260 pounds. And when you got fast hands, you all know what that can do, right?
Now that's heavy. It's not 283 pounds heavy.
No. Now, I think, Richard Hoffer, the great Sports Illustrated writer, used to say, boxing fans have to be the most loyal in any of sport because you are always getting a regular dose of disappointment.
Yeah.
How in the hell a guy who is that now the only thing I could possibly think of, but 20 pounds, I think I can't really even second it.
Yeah.
The only thing I could think of is they thought this is going to be a lot more of a pure six rumble. Josh was going to come right after him to send a message like, you turkey, you happened to catch me, which really wasn't the case. But you happened to catch me, I'm coming right after you. So if you're bigger and he does that and you connect with one, uppercut or cross in particular, you might end the fight again. But I don't see it that way. I think for some reason, a guy who I really had a lot of faith in, if you read his history, he used to go to Freddie Roach's gym. Nobody knew who he was. Apparently worked his ass off. Michael Moore talked about that in the recent Ring magazine. He shows up for a fight this big in another country, 20 pounds overweight against an athlete this good. It doesn't look very good. And honestly, I have to give the hat to Joshua because he did think about the fact that this guy outspeeded me, and I'm a little robotic. He shows up 15 pounds lighter. He's never been 237.
No. And he's a good classic fighter. I mean, he got cocky. I mean, we've seen that how many times. And this will, not that it'll show his greatness that he's fighting necessarily a great fighter, but anytime you lose as a boxer, it gets in your head. I mean, it gets in your head. The great ones overcome it.
Correct.
The great ones find a way to win the rematch.
Correct.
I mean, Sugar Ray. I mean, that was was not a good defeat in Montreal. That was my first. I remember my first closed circuit fight. And I just what respect I had for Sugar Ray. I was never a huge Sugar Ray fan necessarily, and Lord knows the Tommy Hearns draw was one of my most bitter memories because.
Oh yeah, much later on, but yeah, I agree. Yep.
But I mean, even that fight with Hearns ahead, summoning a power I didn't really think he had at that point. I think that's what makes a true champion, even though it might not be a great fighter necessarily. It's if you can overcome and get through. I mean, even Spinks Ali. I mean, Spinks was, I mean, Primo Carnera would be the only one in Spinks' classification as far as heavyweights champions. That's how bad it is.
Yeah, in terms of one-hit wonder, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But, I mean, even though Ali, I had a measure of respect for Ali for coming back and, at his age especially, and coming back to win that. So this is a big thing for Joshua. And I've liked the way he boxes. I agree with you. He's probably not my favorite personality outside the ring from what I read.
He was up until this situation, but continue on. Yeah, I'll talk about that if you want me to. But yeah, this situation, I think he's rubbed some people. But
absolutely, and I'm one of them. But I've respected the way he's boxed, and that's why I thought even before this, if he takes it seriously, I would make him not necessarily a heavy favorite, but a favorite. This to me takes it to another level.
I agree. I'm with you. Yeah. I totally agree. I want to add one modern era thing.
Yeah.
People have no way to verify this, and I'm certainly not trying to say I know everything, but I always loved Lennox Lewis. The man was big, tremendous athlete. He was a gold medal winner. He had some balance problems, and he honestly had some training and discipline problems. His two losses, Oliver McCall, he got caught in London in 1991.
Remember it well.
McCall was a mental case, but he basically McCall was so unsettled by the second fight, I think somewhat to do with Lewis's size and skill in his role at the time.
Yeah.
Weird fight that McCall was crying in the ring and all that kind of thing. But Lewis avenged.
Yeah.
Lewis totally disregarded Hasim Rahman in South Africa in 2001. They fought 6 months later. Lewis obliterated, practically knocked his head into the Hudson.
He was, I mean, he was a guy, I remember him, and I thought it was an exciting fight when Rahman defeated him. But, there's a guy that would have never been a heavyweight champion in the lineal era.
True.
He would have been a top 10 contender. But in the several alphabet era that we've come to love, and even more since we have 4 heavyweight championships that are on the line here, he becomes a contender solely for that reason.
But he was still, Hasim Rocco was a good athlete, was a football player.
Yeah.
He could hit. Lennox avenged his losses decisively. Joshua ruffled a lot of feathers during this promotion because Lewis, although he's multi-country, he's Jamaica, he's Canada, but he's really UK. He supports the UK fighters. He always did throughout his whole career. And he tried to tell Joshua, look, you're the better athlete. You need it. And Joshua really kind of acted, honestly, juvenile.
Yeah.
He's a fool. What's he know? No, he's not a fool. He's one of the best 5 heavyweights in history. You should listen to what he said.
Who did he fight for in the Olympics?
Lewis was for the Olympics. He needed Emmanuel Stewart. Joshua needs somebody besides Robert McCracken.
But who did Lewis fight for in the Olympics?
Was it Bo?
Yeah, the godless Canadians, for God's sake.
No, he fought for the Canadians. That's right. Because that meant in his teenage years he was living in Canada with his mom. That's right.
What kind of guts is that? Why not go back to the UK?
I don't know exactly why he did that. He was always an odd guy still, even to this day. I don't get all that. But as a fighter, he was a tremendous fighter. And he was much better than people realized. And he had the ego check to say, you know what, I should never have lost that.
He shouldn't have lost. He had a questionable chin, but he was a magnificent boxer. He was a magnificent boxer. I agree with you.
He did. But, Joshua ruffled feathers during this. But, I think, this weight differential concerns me. I don't think it's anything calculated. I just think I didn't think Ruiz would be the kind of guy that would so much love the big event or the Mexican parades and stuff like that. He would get like this. Perhaps they have some strategy. I guess they're going to get – I can tell you if they show – DAZN doesn't show all the press conferences and stuff like the pay-per-views do.
Yeah.
That's going to be the first question. Well, if he gets stopped or he's out of gas in 4, first question could be, okay, well, you mind telling me what happened here? Like that. They left themselves in a lose-lose.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think this is absolutely a telltale sign. If I was making the odds on this fight, I'd probably be I don't know what they are, but I'd be in the 15 to 20 to 1 at this point.
I think they went up big time. I don't check that either because I think about it more from the strategic. But, yeah, it's a little bit alarming. And I'm a little bit I guess I'm disappointed because here was a guy that was an everyman kind of guy.
Yeah.
Never disrespected the sport, never beat up a woman, never shit-talking in the camera, always a pretty decent guy. The only thing I saw him react to was when Fury put the Mexican – like the wrestling stuff on. He's like, come on, man, you're not Mexican. That's important in this country. Stop doing it. That was the only thing that seemed to ruffle him.
Yeah, that was a little surprising when he did that.
But Fury, Fury wants to wrestle and he wants to box. He wants to go in MMA. Fury understands promotion. He's kind of a modern world guy.
Yeah, and a good story. A good story. I respect the guy who can overcome what he overcame.
Totally. But, I'm just disappointed because I don't know what the hell was going on. Now, the only thing I could think of is they figure Joshua's the better athlete. He's going to come after him. Fine, come after me, which is what kind of Joshua did in that 3rd round when he put Ruiz down the first time. And they're like, that's fine. Come on, because we want you to. And this time, there's going to be 20 more pounds behind that right cross or on the temple. But it's a little hard for me to believe that was the strategy, honestly.
Well, I don't think it was because – basically, at this point, if you're slower and you're going to get winded easier, I mean, the guy can't be faster. And let's face it, quite frankly, you put them both on even keel. Joshua is a superior fighter.
He is, and his amateur career is both amateur careers are good, but Joshua's is more advanced.
Yeah. So exactly. I'm absolutely this now takes the story. This becomes the story.
In any way, good or bad. Bad. Well, Ruiz didn't show up in shape after all that chance he had. He's just another Buster Douglas.
I was going to say, look at what Buster Douglas did after when he came in. If I'm not mistaken, if my memory's not wrong, didn't he come in huge after he won the title?
And Holyfield killed him in 3 rounds.
Yeah, he came in heavy.
Yep. He blamed on he's a diabetic and he gained all. No, he just didn't give a shit. He didn't take it seriously.
That's what he did. I watched just the other day. I watched the 30 for 30, 42 to 1. Good, very good documentary. I highly suggest it if you get the chance. But
very good.
Basically, what he was saying. But I never thought Buster Douglas really wanted to box.
I agree. I mean, he was a machine. He was so tall and he could really box and move. But never serious enough over a long haul. I agree.
Yeah, because upsets of that magnitude are usually 1 or 2 punches.
Correct.
Not when the spear guy gets the shit kicked out of him.
Correct.
For most of that shows to me that Buster Douglas is, as far as when he is at his best, he's a talented and extremely talented boxer, not a lucky one.
He had a tremendous jab. He was 6'4.5". He had a tremendous jab.
Right.
And that's the pace setter, and he knew how to control a fight like that. Douglas was a good amateur too.
Yeah, no, he was.
And I think Tyson, the out of the ring stuff. One of the things that's fascinating, love it or hate it, call it pro wrestling, is the out of the ring stuff is as important as in the ring sometimes. Yeah. Just like this situation now. What were you doing at 280?
I mean that shows no respect to Joshua.
Yep. Yep. Or the sport. I hate to say it.
No,
but it doesn't.
Here's a guy that thinks it's going to be probably easy, and to me, I don't know if this lasts 5-6 rounds.
I think if it's a firefight and you're carrying that much extra weight, you better hope for one lucky shot. And I'm not sure. I never felt Joshua is a tremendous athlete, and he's a very good boxer, and he is very, very much in condition most of the time. Now, you can't put a chin in condition, and you can't put getting hit on the temple seems to wobble him every time. Right. But if he doesn't get hit in those places, I mean, he is a tremendous athlete who can really – it's a power jab like Lewis or Douglas, guys like that we're talking about. Yeah. If he does control the pace with that, I could see him break him down quickly. And you're right. The gassing that's going to come from carrying that kind of weight, either too much weight or draining out too much in any kind of combat sport is a huge problem.
Well, to me, a guy like that, if he's going to get lucky, he needs to get lucky early.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, because you're going to get tired as you go. And now, of course, you look back at Foreman and Moore. I mean, certainly there was a guy that had no movement whatsoever, and Moore had no business losing to him because basically all he needs to do is dance around the ring.
Yes, but Foreman was also one of the biggest men you'll ever see, one of the strongest human beings you'll ever see.
And he was.
Right. And there was a big size differential in that fight.
Right. I was going to say that, but that's where Moore maybe got a little cocky towards the end. Mm-hmm. Because, again, he had a lot of power, but when you're that quicker, that slicker than your opponent, you shouldn't be in a position to get hit like that.
You should be using it. Correct.
Yeah.
Atlas told him he didn't listen. It's almost like the Billy Conn a little bit, ironically.
Yeah. No, and to me, that is, even though it's not as worthy as the Billy Conn Lewis fight as far as great fights.
Right.
To me, it's more disappointing because, Khan's ego got the best of him, but you're fighting arguably the greatest heavyweight of all time, at least one of the top 3 or 4. And
you were substantially smaller, and you went for the win. Whereas Moore didn't really go for the win. He just kind of got too close in the pocket.
He got too cocky. He just had no respect for that Foreman could hurt him.
45 years of age, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And I mean, to me, next to the Douglas fight, Douglas Tyson, that was the most stunning heavyweight match I've ever seen.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. In our era, when we became from kids to adults, it's hard to match that one. It is.
No, it is. And I'm sure, the Cinderella Man was, Bear at the time considered one of the great punchers of all time at the time. And I mean, I'm sure that was a stunning development. And again, that was more on the lines of Douglas.
Yes.
Where he was, certainly outboxing him and dominating from that aspect. But, I
I'd have to add one too, but finish your thought. I have to add one to recent history. I think that was fascinating.
Okay. I was going to say, but I see this as a guy who's out of shape. You can't gain that kind of weight at that kind of weight when you're flubby. I mean, he's a flubby guy. As Dave Letterman called the great Pirate pitcher Terry Forster, a big tub of goo. I don't know if you remember that.
I do. I like Terry Forster, but yeah, I do remember that. Yes.
You know, Ruiz to me is a big tub of goo.
He is. He is.
Yeah.
But he was also a very good amateur, a very hard worker, a very avoided guy. And honestly, the upset was not as much of an upset to the uninitiated as I felt. And a lot of people.
I remember you said it. I was stunned because I just thought Joshua was that magnificent that magnificent of a boxer, that magnificent of an athlete comparison. But
he is that. He is that.
You know, you. I don't know if you called the win per se, but you said it would be a lot tougher fight than most people are going to think. I mean, you had respect from Ruiz that I don't have.
It's not a body like Pete Incaviglia said in the 93 playoffs against the Braves. This ain't no effing beauty contest.
Yeah. No.
And that's the issue. You know, like Frank Bruno had a beautiful body in the UK too. He couldn't fight.
No.
And he hit him on shitty go. And I don't think Joshua's that. I think that's unfair to this guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But by the same token, I mean it's a boxing match, and hand speed and movement and that kind of stuff is as critical in the big guy down to flyweights.
Yeah.
Ruiz still has that better, but I don't know with extra 20 pounds by round 8 if it's a rugged contest. It's a mistake. It's a shame because I think it would have been a nice story even if he lost, but it was a hell of a fight and he's in shape. Now it's going to be downplayed by the current media, which covers everything about, well, he just didn't care anymore. He made enough money for Mexico. He's got enough tacos. Same old story boxing. Bring me something else. It's a shame in a little bit. Unless he wins. If he wins decisively again and he says, no, I thought about it. I did this or that. Okay, but I'm with you. I think the odds have swung now.
And it rarely happens that way. Usually when a guy, especially a guy who's an underdog, comes in out of shape, I see it. I don't unless he gets a lucky punch in. I don't see how this can even be a close match.
And if they thought
two says it won't.
If they thought it was a lucky punch too, the first time, his own team is crazy because it wasn't. It was a combination of beating.
No, I agree with you.
If you watch the highlights, so
yeah,
I'm predicting Joshua now because of what we saw today.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be as decisive. I do think that it'll be I think this will be duller.
Yeah.
Because I think Joshua, for those people who watch boxing, has been hurt badly 3 times. Dillian White in 16 by a 40-year-old shot, for all intents and purposes, Vlad Klitschko, but still a tremendous athlete. Wobbled bad, almost stopped.
Right.
Then crushed and stopped and honestly quit in the corner, feigned pushing the referee, I want to fight, not really. Then he capitulated after that.
Well, and that's the thing that got me. He quit.
Totally quit.
And that, you know, and again, it sounds like he realized that. It sounds like, you know.
Yep.
I mean, throw your hands up. No moss. Then tell us you ate steak right before the fight.
I don't hear it.
Gastric problem.
Yeah, I don't know. Yep.
You know, but I got to tell you one thing, and I thought of this on the way home, thinking about the fight. I'm listening to ESPNU on Sirius.
Okay.
And I hear 3 gastric commercials in a row. Is this something that Roberto Duran made
Perhaps so. Or maybe they figure, you know, Ruiz looks like he ate too many pizzas or tacos or whatever. So, you know, it's appropriate.
He's got some gastric problems. If he takes the medicine, there's 38 seconds of things that could go wrong out of the minute commercial. My favorite was a commercial for some kind of skin clearing thing that had 45 seconds of things that could go wrong. Would you not take the zits, the pimples, over liver disease, over, you know, an infection to the brain? Okay.
I always say to Patty, "Oh my God, I probably should just die. Why would I take something that's going to give me, dry mouth, leaking eyes, flatulence,
Exactly.
oily stools? I mean, why would I take any of this stuff? I might as well just let me die."
There was a potato chip, Lay's potato chips, in the 90s.
I know what you're going to say.
Oleo, or what the hell was that thing they put in it? I read the back of that the first time I bought one because I thought, there's less calories and it tastes the same. And I looked back and it said could cause anal leakage. I'm not going to beat a potato chip that's going to make my ass leak. Okay.
I guess I shouldn't be eating potato chips anymore, should I?
I went back to the salt and normal oil. Okay. It gives me more cholesterol, but the anal leakage is a non-factor.
God, I hope Ruiz doesn't suffer that with his extra 20 pounds.
You can see it. Is it sweat, or did he have oleo before he came out?
Water thing.
Was Patty's company perpetrating a farce on America by creating? I'm going to say they created oleo. I want you to have her deny that right now.
She's one of our regular watchers or listeners, so she's probably going to have some rebuttal to that. So
I need a rebuttal because she put on, before I went on, some. My hatred of pickles is legendary.
Yeah, well, I didn't honestly know that until she told me that the other day.
Yeah, legendary, and I'm getting ready, and sends me an egg roll with pickles in it.
So you went crazy. So that's why you got a little surly side to you here because of the.
I'm getting a little surly towards her. And I'm blaming her. I'm blaming you, Patty, for creating oleo. And how many guys ate potato chips on a date? And the woman goes to him and says, no, I'm never dating you again because of your anal leakage.
Right. I saw you get up to go to the med room. You got all this stuff on you. So that's
exactly.
What the hell?
From my potato chips.
Right.
Well, of course, but this could happen in the fight. It is a possibility.
God, I hope not. I'm kind of rooting for boxing to have a good day. I hope not. But you never know. Larry Merchant used to say it.
Anal leakage can happen at any time, didn't he?
No, Larry wouldn't say that, but he would say it was theater.
Sure.
So.
All right.
Well, I got one prop. I got to ask you one thing if we go on to the next one.
Yeah.
I guess I was thinking about the fact, just because of the attention with this.
Yeah.
For all of us boxing fans who are in our age group, I got to play you one thing. So listen to my prop, because I'm hoping that what I'm going to play is what happens, despite the ridiculous weight of 283, which is like a pro wrestling match.
I'm saying.
We want that to be what we get tomorrow.
I'm goosebumping now.
We want that to be what we get tomorrow. Think about that. 20 years of HBO World Championship boxing.
It was great. They had the greatest matches.
And the music. Just the entry and the exit. When you think about it, at the end of the fight, they would show all the big highlights of the fight with the music that opened the show at the end.
I know. But you would get that music, and then all of a sudden Lampley would come on. You'd get fired up. He'd fire you up. He'd throw you to Larry Merchant, my all-time favorite boxing.
Me too.
And
with Jones, you gotta learn to. You gotta get a taste for Jones, but he's a great analyst.
He was a great analyst, but even though the big man George was probably a little stiffer,
he was always right though.
He's always right. Oh, nice save by the Flurry. Or not the Flurry, the Jari. The Jari. Is Patty a Jari fan?
Yes. Yes.
You go up there and figure out how to stop the anal leakage.
I told we're going to bring. I said that actually. I think we were going to talk about bringing the other Matt Murray out of the AHL. We need him both. The tandem's going to work there, I think.
I know.
Tandem will work.
But it should be good. I know you're going to watch it. I do not have Dazen, and I'll be working in the middle of the day, so I'm going to hope it ends up on YouTube at some point.
Well, it generally does. I mean, I think, unfortunately, this has not helped boxing anymore, this streaming service, than the premium channels did. Despite what they say. They talk about the $9 a month. but a lot of people don't really buy those services yet. So it really hasn't helped it. But I do think that, yeah, probably within about 2 weeks, you may not get the full thing because of copyright and stuff, but you probably should get enough of it.
I agree with you. We're going to take a little break now. All right.
All right.
All right, we're back. I got the pizza man outside.
That's important.
That's important.
Pizza's a good deal.
That's important, my friend.
Friday night pizza or pro basketball, Friday night pizza, and out there high school football and basketball. That's a good deal to me, man.
Ooh, the dear Thomas Jefferson won a dominant title.
One of the best seasons in Whitfield history, I was reading.
It was, and I'll tell you, I've only been to one high school football game probably in the last 40 years. I'm not necessarily a huge fan. I respect what they did.
Yep.
But that was about as impressive as it gets. Not as impressive as Pine Richland a couple of years ago. But I'd say pretty impressive.
I mean, I want football to succeed out there. That part of the world out there. I mean, football is not my top game, but I mean, out there, that's an iconic thing, and I want it to succeed, and I want them to continue to produce talent.
Yeah,
I really do. I spent time out there, and that's important to me. I hope it continues.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
I'm worried. And so many people I talk to, they don't want their kids playing football, which to me is a little bit ridiculous. But I mean, I hope that's not going to be a factor. But I think football is going to have to deal with that stuff going forward. But Western Pennsylvania football is a match. Yeah,
I would agree. And Western Pennsylvania football on a Steeler level certainly has turned around 360 degrees.
Yep.
Steelers last year, we were sitting here wondering, is this it for the window? Is the window closed? Is this team done? I mean, we often lamented several times here how you just can't win a Super Bowl. I mean, it never surprised me this group didn't win a Super Bowl because the defense was so bad. You can't win a Super Bowl with a bad defense.
Yep.
And you thought when Ben Roethlisberger went down, when James Conner went down, Juju Smith went down, Stephon Tuitt was having his greatest year as a pro. He went down.
Yep.
Pouncey out for 2 games.
Yep. And an important part of the season when he's out too.
Well, I mean, here is the moment in Cleveland's history where they were about to turn around. This was the kind of game that they could look to and say, this is when we turn our franchise around.
You mean the Browns?
The first time.
Yeah.
We're here in Pittsburgh. It's 10-0. We're going up and down the field on them.
Yep.
And my God, how things changed in a half hour. I mean, the Browns, they got 267 yards of offense. 132 yards were on their first 2 drives.
Yep.
Yeah. So after that, they scored 3 points and got 140 yards for 3 quarters. This was a turnaround. This would have put them at 500 after starting at 2-6, and they would have been the favorites for a playoff spot.
Agreed. The last spot. Yep.
And the respect, anybody who doesn't, and I've said this many times, even last year when it probably wasn't his best job, you question the talent of Mike Tomlin to keep a team together. Yeah, okay. In the age of if Chuck Noll came up in the age of mass media, I'm sure we would have found 20 things to find out about him. I'm sure in 1977 we would have been calling for his head because he didn't win a Super Bowl.
Yep. Yep.
This guy with the job he's doing this year, anybody who doesn't think he's the coach of the year, he won't win it unless he gets to the playoffs.
Right.
This basically has the talent at this point of a 3-13 team. 7-4.
I'm with you.
The balls of Colbert, who I've questioned with his defensive drafting. the balls of him to trade up to get Bush, who was turned in to just an extremely talented linebacker who was just going to get better, which is scary.
He's a scary, fast dude out in that position, boy.
You remember when they traded for Mika Fitzpatrick?
Yep.
And everybody thought we'd get a second, or they'd get a top 5 draft pick for that. And what a waste that would be. What a signing that has been. What a trade that has been. Not a signing, but a trade.
Another huge difference, like Bush.
What are the Browns doing getting rid of Joe Hayden? I mean, that's how teams get bad. Joe Hayden has begun that. Bud Dupree, I mean, he's got a payday coming. Hopefully it'll be in Pittsburgh. But disappointing is the offense. To me, that's been the most disappointing aspect of this team is the offensive line. But the defense is covered.
Yeah, Chris has talked about. God bless Chris. He'll be with us soon. He talked about the offensive line. It's been a struggle all year. It is you haven't had a lot of injuries or anything. It's hard to figure out.
I wonder whether he had Lay's potato chips with Patty's additive to it. Hey.
I hope not. So. But I mean, Chris has talked about that. That is the most puzzling part of the season. Now, those guys are getting up in years, a few of them. So maybe that's part of it. They don't have the threat downfield either, which sometimes can make your offensive line look a little tentative.
Yeah.
But you're right. Other than that, I mean, and you've missed, Connor and Schuster have been pounded around this year too.
Yeah.
Oh, and he can't rely on them, whether it's Rudolph or Hodges now or anybody. They don't have some of the pieces that they thought they were going to have. And, I don't know. From the outside, I don't live there. And I think, again, the spoil of Pittsburgh. You've had every great hockey player, forward in particular, the World Cup player, had great baseball for a lot of time. I had a bad stretch here now in recent history, but, for years after the 50s, 20 years of great players, interesting players, cultural changes to the game and everything else. Greatest football team in history. I still think that late 70s Steelers. I wasn't a Steeler fan, but I think they were looking back.
78 team, not to be considered the greatest of all time. The Bears had a great defense. They didn't have they had an acceptable offense. It wasn't a great offense. Steelers had the best offense in 78 and the best defense. How many times does that happen?
Never. And over the body of work from 73 on to even 80.
Yeah.
Nobody's had that kind of run football.
No, nobody has.
But, I mean, out there, I think people were spoiled. I think Mike Tomlin I was pretty critical of him and the front office at times. But I will say, looking back, we've had 3 organizations that can't keep a jackass on the field or even in the locker room. Yeah. They have on the field playing and contributing.
Yeah. I mean,
So how can you criticize a coach who has to deal with it that way because of money or understanding business or understanding whatever? And then now you have this year, which you could say it's a weak division. Well, I don't really know. I mean, you got one of the best teams in football in it.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, the guy to me is, I don't understand the criticism. I just don't.
No, it's embarrassing at times. And with certain people, it borders on racism.
I hate to say it, but that's kind of what it feels like to me too, David. I've lived in a couple different places. I'm with you.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that's everybody. I mean, but a lot of it does. When you're just complaining to complain, I mean, I've had guys who will give me specifics, and I don't disagree with some of them, but every country's going to have his negatives.
Sure.
Correct. And if your biggest complaint about him is he's not Belichick, well, how many coaches have been in the NFL in the history of the league? None of them have been Belichick. Lombardi was close. It's
not all him, too. It's ownership and wallet and front office and GM. Belichick is the executor, and I'm not suggesting that he does. That is a Hall of Fame. I mean, I don't love them at all as an organization, but you got to respect what they've done.
Sure,
but you got to respect what Tomlin and the Steelers front office has done, too. Let's face it.
Yeah. No, I mean, since 1980, what was it, 89? Yeah, 89, 90, yeah, 89, because disappointing in 90 and 91. But, but ever since then, that was the beginning of that team, the 89 Steelers. And except for a couple of years here and there, you basically had almost 30 years of success, almost 30 years of continued success.
They always talk about Philly and Pittsburgh and why they're such great sports towns. And the first thing that comes out of everybody's mouth, and some of it's just repeated because it's the common theory as well, this is a real place. We like to show emotion here, man. You take on the team. They said it in Philly the other night. The Philly entry to come into a hockey game is something that somebody said about Pittsburgh. They showed Giroux walking down to South Philly Street. It's just him. Then everybody starts coming out of their house. Old women, kids, people in a wheelchair. And then other players start to – you take on Philly, you take on the whole city. Pittsburgh's the same thing.
Yeah. Don't screw it.
Cowan's not Bill Cowher. His jaw's not stuck out. He's not screaming. He's not like here. I wonder how they're going to deal with Vigneault, who can be a little feisty, but he's not a very like firebrand kind of guy in front of the media. He's kind of bland.
Right.
They would much rather have the screaming, yelling kind of, Hextall kind of player coach than and not win. But they like the mentality is this is a tough town. We need tough guys. No, you need smart guys who are tougher just because they don't look like they're going to kick your ass.
Right. And also
not that kind of guy.
No. And Cowher is a great coach. He is no Mike Tomlin. Okay?
The resumes are vastly different. That's the thing I don't think people realize or even think back about.
Right.
The resume's longer for Tomlin and better.
Mike Tomlin, the stupidest thing I've ever heard is he won with Cowher's players. He didn't win with Cowher's players. Cowher didn't create these players. Cowher didn't draft these players. Cowher, if I'm not mistaken, finished 8-8 with these players the year before Tomlin took over.
And in football, that's 2 years anyway. 2 to 3 years anyway. It's
or
not
injuries
long.
that caused that.
Yeah.
Okay? So, yeah. So.
How do you explain the other 8 years of his career then?
Right. And if you're saying that, then you're saying that Cowher won with those players because he's the one that, had those that developed those players.
In football, it's very short. You look at a 2-3 year window at best. That's a foolish statement to me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
I do think the season is this weekend, though. I mean, I think they got to win this one. And, the Buffalo, I think they're going to go 2-2. Don't you?
Well, and to me, you've got a good shot at the playoffs if you go 2-2.
You do, but I'm worried about the Colts. Now, they did beat the Colts, so if they both end 9-7, that'll be the tiebreaker.
Yeah.
But the Colts have the easiest road.
Yeah.
Tennessee has to play Houston twice. That's pretty ugly for the Titans.
Right. And that's I think if they go 9-7, they're in the playoffs. And you have a chance to beat Buffalo. I mean, Buffalo is a good team, but I think it's a good team because of the schedule more than it's a good team.
I always feel the NFL schedules do affect ratings, or rather records and position the next year. I agree.
Sure. I agree. So you could go 3-1. 3-1 definitely gets you in.
That'll make it 10-6, right? That makes you so then you are in probably. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and with a defense like that, and again, Duck Hodges is not a better quarterback than Mason Rudolph. Mason Rudolph is just screwed up right now, admittedly so. What Garrett did was just a gutless, lowest denominator kind of thing. Just to get off. I mean, if Rudolph really did say that, why are you waiting a week to tell people about it?
I don't buy it. I mean, I don't. You never know, but I mean, you're right. It's just weird. And honestly, I just don't like. It's not. I don't have the. I'm not born and raised. Like you and Chris in Western PA. I spent time there. I love it. But the Cleveland that coach. He's kind of low class to me. I'm sorry. Not just the shirt, but like his reaction after. Like, I mean, your guy committed assault on the field. You jerk. I mean, sorry. And they're hitting a Rudolph pinata, like putting. I mean, come on.
Yeah, that's
you morons.
Bush League.
It's a football game.
Yeah.
But I mean, and Fletch talked about Mayfield. He's been pretty class through most of this stuff, but I think Rudolph didn't get enough snaps last year at all, even late in games.
No, but
he's hurt by he doesn't have any real big threats.
Right, but look at it this way. Those he played a good game. I'm not going to criticize him, but they won the game because of James Washington's catching of his bad passes
3 times.
Washington, I don't want to say it was a Lynn Swan type of game, but it was pretty damn close.
3 times in one game. That's the game right there.
Yeah. This is the kid that to me has kind of broken out a little more than anybody else.
You know, I can't really figure out if he's got speed or not. You saw more college football than I ever saw. I think the one thing, if you had somebody really a burner with Schuster and then you have him, that's a pretty good core.
Yeah. Well, I think when Schuster comes back, he's going to be better because now Washington is going to garner some respect from defensive backs. They have
Unfortunately, with the rules in the tag football, you need more than one threat now on the outside like that. So I'm with you. With you.
And this doesn't surprise me because Washington was one of my favorite receivers. Respect for him for how dismantled Pitt's defensive backfield for 2 years.
Yep.
And I think Mason Rudolph's going to be a fine.
Me too. I'm not worried. He's a big man, big arm, it's a beautiful arm, man. You don't see that kind of arm very often.
Yeah. So, and Benny Snell, to me, even when James Conner comes back, Benny Snell has been a better running back this year, save one game.
Much like goalies in hockey, I always talk about, I don't mind 2 or 3 running backs that can contribute. You don't need that guy carrying a ball like Simpson did or Sayers did. You don't need that.
No, he's in a slump. He's in a slump right now, and Benny Snell has been more decisive through the field. But
less beating when guys are splitting a load 3 ways too.
Exactly.
Less beating. So I mean, I feel good, and I think Tomlin deserves an awful lot of credit. And if they go 10-6, he'll get some votes. He won't. The winner will go to the team that ended up. It'll be Buffalo or Belichick again, probably.
But right now, he deserves the award. He deserves the award.
Well, he doesn't have this kid Jackson, and he doesn't have Brady and the Patriots machine, and he doesn't. He doesn't have, and honestly didn't have the Buffalo schedule. So if you really want to be objective, we're Pittsburgh guys, Bittermen on Sports at Pittsburgh. But the reality is, I don't care if it's Pittsburgh or not. 10-6 is pretty damn amazing for a team that lost 2 of the best offensive weapons in football, maybe for the right reasons, and a Hall of Fame quarterback.
I agree with you.
And was what, 3-5 or whatever the hell they were, or whatever. I mean, this is a tremendous job, which we all called a little bit back in early October.
Yeah. No, and it's gotten even better because his problems have gotten worse. Duck. You know, this again, I love the story, but I just always chuckle when people think there's going to be a Hall of Famer. Not going to be a Hall of Famer. Here's what he is.
Well, you know, Dave, you got to dig deep if you're going to stay with this stuff every day for 30, 40 years. That's just not the nature of people.
No, it's not. He's a good quarterback. I respect what he's doing.
It's a great story. It's a nice story, but
he's no Trent Dilfer.
No.
Make their call. Oh, man.
So, I mean, I don't know. I think the schedule's a big part of this. I think, you know, Tennessee's got a hard road.
Yeah.
They're gonna get the last spot, which means they're gonna play what? They're gonna play either Houston, probably, right?
They play Houston. That's it.
And I don't love that so much, but on the other hand, at least they got there. You know,
if you've got a defense, you have a shot.
You're in the game. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And if they go through this and they somehow find their way to the Super Bowl, and again, it's doubtful that's going to happen. It's if I give it a chance, I give it a 5% chance.
Yeah, I'm with you. Low, but
just because I don't think they're in Baltimore's class at this point, and they certainly aren't in the Patriots class.
No, and the Baltimore thing's been interesting. I don't know how you feel about that. You know, I know there's a lot of people love football out there who watch it. That's a different team that you often see. That's not a tag football. That's a power football team.
That's a power football team, and that's the difference between Lamar Jackson and maybe some of the others. Other running quarterbacks in the past is he's kind of like a power running back.
Yeah.
Among everything else, and his thing that shocked me this year is my criticism of him was always I didn't think he was an accurate passer. He's an accurate passer now.
He is. You can see a major improvement in that guy as an athlete.
And we'll see. What's inevitably going to happen is they're going to create defenses to around him, and we'll see if he can adjust. Randall Cunningham took him a while, but he eventually adjusted.
He did.
Bobby Douglas didn't adjust.
No. Nope. I mean, Cunningham wasn't a great postseason player, but over the course of his career, you're right. He became a very fine NFL quarterback and a dangerous one. And
he did, and he adjusted as he got older. But yeah, I remember. By the time he was with It was Minnesota,
Vikings,
99.
Vikings at the end, yeah.
Yeah, he was
Yeah, he
a
almost was in the MVP hunt that year, wasn't
yeah, he had one of the great quarterback years at that point.
he? Yep. I mean,
Well,
I think, you know, I still like, and I don't know if it's because I'm just think about this, like the games we've talked about on these shows. Like I'm still living in like the 70s or 80s or some of that stuff. But I just think if you have a good running game and a good offensive line,
yeah,
there's been a number of Super Bowls. I remember the New England Eagles Super Bowl years ago when they had Corey Dillon and a big offensive line. You could just see it. It's like a heavyweight fight, like we were talking about. By the third quarter, late in the third, fourth,
Philadelphia was staying close, but you knew they had no chance. I know exactly what you're saying.
Punching you in the gut. Like that Dillon was 235. Like by the fourth quarter, it's like hockey to me with big forwards and a little bit of a hitting game, like the Islanders play now, or Caps, or it's like in boxing, like if you're not in shape, by the time you get in that seventh or eighth, like all of a sudden you can start to see the turn a little. If you run and you're just all passing.
Well, I will say one thing to you. You remember Donovan McNabb throwing up in the fourth quarter?
Yeah, well, they still talk about that here, yeah.
It was in the 90s?
Yeah.
Was it Patty's secret ingredient in potato chips?
Well, if you think that there's an angst about a hockey team that wears orange and black, the angst for the green and white and its band of, let's say, running from the law followers, that's even more animosity is what I'll tell you.
All right.
Okay? And honestly, not just justifiable.
Yeah.
Okay? Justifiable. I mean, if you want to see Dante's hell on earth, we'll go to an Eagles game.
Well, I saw that after they won the Super Bowl. That was a little stunning watching that.
I mean, there's an intensity and a passion, but it's a motorcycle crowd with a lot of tattoos. So.
It is a motorcycle crowd. I like it.
Yep.
Quick prediction on the fight.
I was going to say, the Ring magazine, which isn't read as much as it used to, but it pulled 12 fighters and a lot of names that we would know: George Foreman, Holyfield, Tyson, guys like that, guys of respect. At that point, 6 of them had picked Joshua, 4 Ruiz, 2 undecided. The 2 undecided are opinions I respect. You got to get used to them, like we talked about, was Foreman and Jones. Okay? Undecided.
Yeah.
You would have said to me before this weigh-in, which I just found out when I text you.
Yeah.
I would have said Ruiz again, but in a little bit more boring fight, but just a points victory.
Okay.
I'm not going to say that now. I think Joshua, being the better athlete, clearly showing up in better shape. If their strategy was, he comes in this time in the pocket, we're going to hit him harder with 20 more pounds. You're right. I don't see that as a good idea. I don't want to hear it. I mean, I'm surprised because I love Ruiz, and if you read about his past, he was a hard-working guy, never a blowhard. I kind of like Joshua this time, and I like him by kind of stoppage, middle to late. I hate to say it. I just don't think you can win at that. The crunching that high competitive level, whether it's boxing or MMA, takes. If you show up drained to the bones, or you show up and you filled up on 20 pounds of water in a day, or you show up way over what you've been most successful at, the history of that is not very good. So I'm going with Joshua now, which is different than I would have said until I saw the news today.
You're going a points victory?
No, I'm going to say Joshua's going to get a stoppage because of gassing or punishment. It's funny. The bigger you get to, or the more you drain out to the bone, the more your swelling gets. So if Joshua's pumping a jab and he's moving, and in the pocket he's every bit as fast, if not faster, I could see Ruiz getting stopped by bruising, cuts, punishment.
What round?
I'm going to say between 6 and 9, somewhere in there. Between 7 and 9.
I'm going to say 3.
I think it's going to be very dull. Just like if people bought, some of the guys on the Trunzo site bought Wilder Ortiz, and they were talking about this. It was very dull for 9 minutes. And I think this will be the same, because I think there's been Joshua's got something in his head, and Ruiz has figured, you know what, this has to be tougher this time.
Yeah.
I think by round 4 or 5, Joshua's going to feel he's stepping up the pace. I could see 7 to 9, Joshua TKO stoppage. Or Ruiz, his corner says, he's too beat up, we're stopping.
I'm going to say 3 to 4
Okay.
because I just, the smacks of an out of shape guy. I'm going to say you're going to get 230 jiggles per round from his stomach.
I'll have to try to slow it down. I don't know how you slow down the stream, but I'll try to do it.
We could make a music video with that. Just looking at his stomach in slow motion. I like that.
I mean, I guess the reason I played the HBO box is I think about some of that big time fights, not just heavyweights, but
This would be a big time.
Wonderful. I hope we have that kind of night, but I guess I'm Richard Hoffer. If you're going to be a boxing fan, be prepared to be disappointed.
There you go. But, well, my friend, we've missed Fletch, who
Chris, we'll see you soon. So I got the hat. You got to. First time I put a hat on since we started. You guys.
I know. I
got this well coiffed hair, but I figure, you know what? Maybe I ought to.
Rumor has it he was getting his legs waxed tonight. He's going to be aerodynamic.
Yeah.
Head be tough.
Yep.
All right. We will see you next week with our dear Fletcher back.
All right. Thanks.
Look forward to the fights. You have a good night.
Yep. Look forward to talking about what happened.
Absolutely. All right.